Okay, we're up to Ayin Ayin Zion Amid Beis. Ayin Zion Amid Beis. We began yesterday the sugya of Chatzar. We saw that the pasuk says that you have to go ahead b'nas and b'yada. You're supposed to give a get and give it to her hands. And since it said b'yada, it didn't say b'yada no. You said that b'nasan you should give b'chol makom, and yada touches up how the nesina has to be. It was very meduyik and Rashi, right? B'nasan b'chol makom. And how is that? Nasan is described by Yoda. Just like a Yoda is Mishtameres, so too the Chatzah has to be Mishtameres. Mishtameres means based upon, she said that not by somebody else, but by her, that she said to watch it and not somebody else. So continuing along those lines, we're up to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 13 lines in the bottom. Who Gavra? There was this individual, the Zarek Legito Libisai, he threw a get to his wife. Havikami B'Chatzar. And she was standing in the chutzner. Azal Gita Nafal Pisla, and it fell on a pisla. Pisla seems to be some type of object that's above the ground, a piece of eights that's on top of the ground. Some Rabbi Yosef Chazinon. Ihabi arba amis al arba amis. If this pisla is 4 amis by 4 amis, then plag le rishus al nafshe. Then it's a separate rishus by itself, and it's not bottled to the chutzner, and therefore there would be no nesina. Now, it's obviously the Chatzar is a place that had landed there. She would be, but as a result of landing on top of this thing, she wouldn't be able to. It'd be a separate area. You understand? Yeah, she's in a Chatzar, right? And he throws her a get. If the get would land in the Chatzar, it would be divorced. But in the Chatzar, there seems to be, let's say, a tree stump. Let's say a tree stump, some type of projectile. If it's 4 amis by 4 amis, which would be an area by itself, and the get lands on that, so it's not landing in the chutzner. We just began the daf Bahu Gavra, and therefore, if it lands on the projectile, then that's growing up. It was separate. It would not be divorced because it has a separate rishus. Right. It says the Eloi, and if it's not 4 amis by 4, if it's not 4 amis by 4 amis, then chod rishus it's not considered part of the rishus of the chutzner, and therefore she would be divorced. Okay, so here's the case, guys. A woman's in a chutzner, husband throws her a get. It doesn't land on the chutzner, it lands on a piece of wood that's in the chutzner. That if it's 4 amis by 4, she won't be divorced because it would be a separate area. But if it's not 4 amis by 4 amis, it would be considered part of the chutzner. And then as a result, she would not be divorced. She would not be divorced because it's a separate chutzner, it's a separate area. Okay. Says the Gemara. Now we want to know exactly this area. What are we discussing? What's okay? B'maya skin. What are we speaking about? Mech, we're Zion Amid Beis. We're about 7 lines up from the bottom. 7 lines up from the bottom. We have people coming in. No, it's not. This is 4 amas by 4 amas. That's what's talking about. That's 10 by 4, but it's 10 tefachim high, 4 tefachim wide. This is 4 amas by 4 amas. So now the Gemara says the following: if b'maya skina, what are we dealing with over here? This get that falls on this area. If it's in hachatzer, ki havi dalan amas my have. Who cares, fellas? Again, if what we have over here is he's throwing a get, it's landing on a piece of wood in a chutzner, and you're saying if the wood is 4 amas by 4 amas, you're not divorced. Now, if it's her chutzner and it's right, it's good. It's a separate harishus, but it's harishus. And Ella must be speaking the chutzner day. So kiloi havi haramis my have. And if it's speaking about his, then how could she be divorced? Because after all, it's not. What exactly is the mitzias of the case? The lemais of the case, the manusha. If it's her, so we don't care, and if it's his, then why? Even if it lands in the chatzar, it won't help. So like tzricha, the oishla makam, he went ahead. It's his. It's speaking about it's his chatzar, and he lent her an area in the chatzar. It should be under her jurisdiction vis-a-vis the get. Now, which area did he lend? The chatzar area. Why didn't he lend the chaticha, the pisla? Because the chad makam moshli inshi. It's the way of a person to lend one area. Trei mekoymes le mushli inshi. Good. And therefore, two places a person doesn't land. So here's the mitzvah. Guy threw a get to his wife. It landed on, and it was in his chutzner. He had given the certain area of the chutzner for the wife to be kind of the get. It lands on a piece of wood in that area. If the piece of wood is 4 amos, that's a separate area that was not lent to the wife, and therefore she's not divorced. Had it been less than that, then it would be considered part of the area, and it would be, then you would be divorced. Now, just a few more addendums about this. So we said the first one was 4 amos by 4 amos. 4 amos by 4 amos would go ahead and make that pisla, that piece of wood, a separate area. That less than 4 amos, ella gavoya asara. It's not 10 tefachim high. Aval gavoya asara. If it's 10 tefachim high, afagav loihavi arba amis. Even if it's not a lot of amis, it will be considered what a shushus by itself, and the baal will be makbid, and therefore it would not be a good get. The less layam aleph shem levaya. It doesn't have its own name. In other words, it's a piece of wood, a piece of, let's say it's not like spook rock. You call it it has a unique name, or it's called shtickholz. I'm saying it's just a piece of wood. That gives it a chashivas. Once it has a surname, this piece of wood, it has a chashivas, and if it has a chashivas, it's a rishus b'tnei atzma, and it's not in her rishus, and therefore she's not divorced. Not 10 tefachim high. So therefore, there are a few addendums to this. That if the name is, it's one point and a few ways to illustrate that point. What's the point? If this wood is considered a separate area, then there is no nesina of the get to that person. Right, because she only was lent a certain area, and that's a separate area. When's it a separate area? If it's 4 amos by 4 amos. When's it a separate area? Even if it's not 4 amos by 4 amos, but it's higher than tefachim. And even if it's not 10 tefachim, and even if it's not 4 amos, if it's chashuv enough to have its own name, it also will be considered a separate area. And if the get falls in it, she would not be divorced. Okay, we said that the Mishnah said that if she's in his house, even if she's with him in a bed and the get's there, ain't a migrashas. Okay, so let's discuss that. Amarava leishanu el b'mita shaloi, avo b'mita shalo migurashes. So she's in his house. She has her bed, and if you would throw the get in her bed, she would be divorced, despite the fact that it's in his house. Guys, good? Okay. Frag the Gemara a bit kasha. Uvamita shalom migoreshes, Kalev sheloi keach birishus meichehu. Now there's this big shaila in Baba Basra, guys. If your kli can be kaina in the place of the meicher. My kli, let's say I'm buying something from somebody, I'm the lokeach, and he puts it in my kli, but it's still in his rishus. Do we say that it's an area by itself and it's mine, or do we say it's bottled to that area? And it remains a shaila. It remains in the bayit lo yishita. But from over here, let's view the woman as the lokeach, and the bed as the kli of the what of the meicher. And therefore, what? Let's be placed in the shaila, because you're telling me it would work. It would be a get, meaning her bed is considered. It can be kind of the get for her, right? Says the Gemara. So shmami, let's be placed from here. And which is a shaila that kelo shaloi keach b'shus meichu who shmami no kelo shaloi keach b'shus meichu kind of. So like tzricha the gavoya asara. In other words, the bed is 10. So he is, and when it's 10 high, he is not makbid. You know, he's not makbid. Go ahead. There's no akpada. It's not pshat over here, guys. It's not a rishus b'fnei yatzma. It's a bed. It's not a rishus b'fnei yatzma. It's not like a Shabbos tikadin. It's just a yachid. It's just a it's 10. Not like the case before where the get was 10. It was just by itself. Over here, since it's 10 high, the guy's not makbid. It's not makbid. Kare, right? There is the place of the feet of the bed. The Gemara says, right? The place of where the person's not makbid. So since he's not makbid, he's mavadlet to her, and therefore what? You can go ahead and she can be kaina. Okay, let's look at Rashi for a second, guys. The 4 lines down. The Gavoya Yud. So the bed is 4 tefachim high. Davi Rishusul and Nafshe. L'choshev ahu aviro rishus moicher levatal es rishus hakli. And Rashi tells us along this over here, and therefore, since it's rishus by itself, we would not consider the ear space of the meicha to mevatel rishus of the kli, which is the svara that's the svara why the kli should not be kaina. That's the svara that the kli should not be kaina, because the ear space of the kli is the ear space of the meicha. So therefore, Mashen when it's above 10, you wouldn't have that svara. And we say, since it's 10 tefachim high, it's very easy to go ahead, therefore, and use underneath it, so he's not makbid on this little area. So the bottom line is in his bed, it's not her bed, yes, and we're going to say that the bed is 10 tefachim high, and he's not makbid, and therefore, it's not a kashayla of the kli of a lekeach, it's just meicha. We said in her lap or in her basket migureshes. Amai, again, you put in the question on the basket. Amai keller shall lakeach b'shus meichahu. That's again the same problem. You have the kli, the kalta is a kli, and it's the kli of the heart, the lakeach b'shus meicha. Rabbi Yehuda Mishmul kigain shahoisa kalta tluya ba. It's attached to her, so it's not in the b'shus and the meicha. Okay, number of Allah, Rabbi Yehuda kigain shahoisa kalta tluya ba. It's if it's tied to afbishin, it's luya, even if it's not hanging, would be enough. Rather, it's between her thighs, so it's more part of her. That was his job. He sold baskets, so therefore he's not makbid. So what more basket? Again, the whole thing is totally, if there's no hakpada, it's considered what? You're not makbid, so it's not considered berishus moicher. That's your shaila, guys. It's zichah kli. The shaila is kli like moicher. Why isn't the shaila that? Because he's not makbid. So when it's not mishus and a moicher, and therefore you can't go ahead and push the shaila and pay him and base in Baba Basra. The key point being over here, once there's no hakpada, right? Once there's no hakpada, guys, it's not mishus moicher. That's the lumbus. Malcolm Chekeb Kanila, Malcolm Kasa Kanila. He gives it that place. It's her place. It's her place. Just like the her lap is hers. So to the house is hers, and it belongs to her, and he gives it to her. Amrav, my time to Rabbi Yochanan. If he makbid loyal Malcolm Chekeb loyal Malcolm Kasa, he's not makbid. Again, the big side is clear. Once there's akpada, there's a problem. Once there's no akpada, so b'meila it can be kind. Throw into a chek or into a kalta, anything that's like a kalta. I resume gureshes. Kaldavashu kalta lasuyi. My what's come to include lasuyi taska the ochla vitarme, some type of pouch that you could hold dates. So therefore, that also, if you get goes there, it would be okay. The get goes there would be okay. Now we know when a person gets married, it's very important for him to give money and say Hari Amakudesh sleep at Tabasu. That's Moshe Yisrael. If you don't say that, you don't get married. It doesn't work. Kedushin, the Amiri Kedushin is the act. It's not the kesef, but you have to say what it's for. By get also, we're going to see that when he divorces her, she has to know that it's a get. She has to know that it's a get. Now, not necessarily that she have to hear it from the husband. We paskin like Rabbi Eliezer, guys, Edi Masira Karti, right? The Edi Masira have to know. In other words, if you tell the Edi Masira, I'm giving this get to my wife, that would be enough. But let's say he doesn't tell the Edi Masira then that's the discussion of our Mishnah. So again, if he would tell the Edi Masira that the Nasina and he knows it's for Gerushin, that would be a problem. Right? Okay. Amallah Kinsei Shtar Chayv. He tells a woman, take the Shtar Chayv. We had this earlier. Remember, he's embarrassed. He's embarrassed to tell her that what? Goodbye. So he says, what? Here, take the Shtar Chayv. Or she finds it behind him. She finds it behind him and she reads it. Kaira, and heavens to Betsy, Gita. And lo and behold, it's a get. Ain't a get, she's not divorced. At sheyoyim Allah hagitech. Right? He has to say that what? This is your get. Now the shaila is, we're going to machloikas tanoim. Does you gave it already? Do you have to take it back because you didn't do it correctly, or it'll be enough? The Nasina is Nasina, and now just give her the information. That's the machloikas tanoim in the Gemara. Whether you have to redo it or no, just say it. Nasan biyada v'hi yishana. She's sleeping. You put it in her hand. She's sleeping. Now she wakes up. Koira reads it. Varihu gita. Ain't a get at sheyom Allah hagitek. It's not a get. And he says this is your get. Right? In other words, this case over here, it's she's sleeping, so it's the other is not mishtaris l'daita. Over here, it doesn't seem to be, even if you tell the Adam over here, it won't help. In other words, this is a bigger chiddush. This is a chiddush of the other cases. Let's say the following, guys. We had earlier, if you would tell the Adam, I'm write a get, I'm going to give this get to my wife, and I'm giving a get, and then you say kinsi shtar choiv, it would be a good get. I didn't tell her. If she thinks she's getting a choiv, the Adam Misiri knew. They knew. Okay, understand? The chiddush of this case, even if the Adam Misiri know, the Baal, when she was sleeping when she got the get, right? We saw yesterday, the Nasan Biyada, it has to be just like you hand the Mishtameres, right? So too, the Nesina has to be Mishtameres. If she's sleeping, so even if he would have whispered in her ear, this is your get, and given it to her, it wouldn't work. It doesn't work over here because there's no Nesina. There's no Nesina over here because, again, so it's a little different over here. In other words, here he did tell the Adam. It doesn't work. In the case of Kinsi Shtarchov, he didn't tell anybody. You have two cases of Kinsi Shtarchov. One that it works, one it doesn't. When does it work? If you tell the Adam Mesira, I'm giving this to my wife as a get, but here goes to the wife and says Shtarchov. The Kinsi Shtarchov, she's divorced. The case of our Mishnah is he didn't tell that to the Adam. He said, here Kinsi Shtarchov, then it's not. The case over here, the latter case, he did tell her that he'll tell the Adam it's a get. But nonetheless, it's not on the Sina because she was sleeping.
So then what does it help saying it afterwards? You give it again?
Oh, that's again.
No, but it says specifically Shamalach Pita. You don't have to give it again. Just say it.
Again, it's the same machlokes. It's the same machlokes. Yeah. Says the Ki Amalah Gitech my Havi. So this is going on the case where she reads the Havamina guys. Where is this get that was on his back? It was on the floor. It was behind him. Right? Now we know there's a halach of tli gitech me abe karka, picking up a get from the karka. It doesn't work. In other words, there has to be in a scene. If you pick it up from the ground, it doesn't work. Says the Gemara, my have, if she reads the get, even it's mashma, if he would say it's a get, it would be a good get. May have like tli gitech me abe karka. Rava tli gitech, take your get me abe karka leyama klum. So in other words, the case of the Mishnah's mashma, the reason why it doesn't work is because she doesn't know she's receiving it l'shem gerushin. And the Gemara is asking, even if she knew it was l'shem gerushin, since she's picking it up from the ground, it's not. There's no v'nasan. He didn't give it to her. So even if she knew it was l'shem gerushin, it shouldn't work. Says the Gemara, Emash shalaftoi me'achorav. It's speaking, she didn't pick it up the ground, she picked it up off him. So in other words, the Gemara's Havamina is there's a difference. Is literal from the ground, but this is not off the ground, she's taking it off his back. Rashi says it's stuck between his belt and his body, right? He has it stuck between his belt and she's picking it up from there. Fred the Gemara, in other words, you Havamina, it's the same problem. It's the same problem. Whether you pick it up from the ground or you pick it up off the person, if he doesn't do an action that transfers it to your rishus, then there's no nesina. So forget the problem that he didn't tell her it's a get. Even if he did tell her it was a get, it wouldn't be work. Why? Because there's no nesina over here. That's the Gemara's kasha. And for the Gemara, you know what's speaking about? Ema, the orak law chartse ushalafte. He turned her hip to her. In other words, it wasn't she just picked it up. He turned his hip, and as a result, that turning of the hip is an action of Nesina. So the Nesina in this case wouldn't be a problem. The only problem would be that she doesn't know that she's receiving a get. That's the problem. So so initially we had a problem with the Nesina. We may have a karka from his back, and now we're saying he's doing an action which would constitute a Nesina, the action of turning his hip. Paninami hachi. Amallah kinsi shtarchayv zeh, oish shalaftay ma'achayrav, karasoy varu gita ena get at sheyom Allah gitech. Divrei Rabbi. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, oimel oilam ena get ad sheyit lena himena. He's got to take it back from her. V'yachsa v'yitna Allah, and then return and give it to her. V'yom Allah gitech. Okay, then in other words, that is the machlokes that we mentioned earlier. According to Rabbi, it's enough just to say it again. According to Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, you have to return and give it. Nasna biyada v'yishana neura koira varihu gita ein get at shiyam lo hagitech. Direi Rabbi. Rabbi, it's mashma chiddush nifla over here. if you want to go ahead, guys, and I'll give you 3 madregas. One, a nesina where she knows, she's aware, a full-fledged nesina. One, there's no nesina at all, and one, a nesina, but it's not a nesina now because she's not aware, according to Rabbi. So watch. If you would give her a classic case, here's her hand, or a chatzah, she's there, you give a get, and you say, Harry is a get, you did an nesina, she's aware, everything's good. You go ahead, she takes the get from your backside, she takes the get from the ground, there's no nesina at all. That's gidich miyabe karka. She's sleeping. You give her a get when she's sleeping, and she wakes up. Shragi had a problem. Why don't you take? There's no nesina because she was sleeping, and the answer is there was a nesina, but it wasn't a nesina. It was nesina shlemi daita. In other words, it wasn't a yad. There was a v'nasan, but there wasn't a biyada. There was a v'nasan, there wasn't a biyada. V'nasan means b'chol makim, right? There wasn't a nesina, but it wasn't a biyada. Therefore, if you go ahead when she wakes up and tell her, that would constitute the biyada, and that would, according to the Rabbi, I think, right? That would answer up. Very good, right? That would answer up. The nesina is a nesina, right? Only, however, now, according to Shimon Elazar, you always have to redo it. But according to Rabbi, problematic. When you gave it to her, you not give it to her. So what we're saying there's a middle madrega. It's a nesina, but not one that you did v'nasan, but there's no biyada. And over here, this would become biyada. The fact that once she wakes up and you tell her, that would become biyada. Again, I'm telling this off the top of my head, but it makes a lot of sense to me, and it's my share, so I can say what I want. Right? You don't have to believe me, but pity. Okay, so that's the more weiter. Now, so we have 2 scenarios to tell me, right? You have 2 scenarios. You have regular, and then when she's sleeping. Where Kinsi Shtachoiv, Bahi Kamar Rebbe, Mishum Debas Agrushahi. She's awake. She's awake. She is, she's in the biyada zone. She's in the biyada zone. She's fully awake. Aval nas and the aval nasim biyada v'hiyashana the lav basik rushihi ema moidler b'shem ben Elazar. You'd have to go take it back. In other words, if there's no biyada, there's no nesina. V'yit ma baha. In the case where it's sleeping, baha come b'shem ben Elazar because she wasn't a basik grushi at that moment. Aval bahach when she's awake. Ema moidler Rebbe that you don't have to give it back. So it's tzricha that you have to give it back. Amar Rava, Kasabla get v'nasna biyadav do yashan. Right? He goes ahead, he gives a get to her Eved that was sleeping, umisham rasai, and she's watching the Eved. How does they get? Well, it's a good get. So no, it's a good get. Why? The Eved is her rishus. The Eved is her rishus, and she's watching him. And since he's sleeping, he's not watching himself. Since this is Geshmak, right? There's a total biyada over here. What's biyada? It's just like your yad you can watch. So too over here, you're watching. Near, however, if he's awake, even they have the same scenario. If he's watching her and she's awake, the Eved's awake, ain't a get. Why? The chutz is not being watched, it's not yad. Right? There's no yad over there. Yoshan umisham rasai, how is that get? Fred the Gemara Kasha. If he's sleeping and she's watching him, it's a good get. Why? Am I chatzim alechasi? Chatzim alechas lekoina. What are you going to tell me? An Eved is a chatzer. A chatzer has to be stationary. This chatzer wad is not stationary. What are you going to say? He's sleeping. The chitema yoshan shiny. You're going to tell me that if he's sleeping, it's different because he's not walking. The Omar Rava, Rav is of the opinion. Kol she'ilu mahalech lekoina. Oimid v'yoshev lekoina. Anything if you were walking, if you stop, it's not. So since this Eved could possibly walk when he was awake, so you have a problem. Good, she's watching it, and good, he's not watching himself, but you have a side problem. It's not a good chatzar. It's a chatzar ma'alechas. And for the Gemara, you know what? It's speaking when he was tied up. Since it's tied up, he couldn't walk. Since he couldn't walk, he's a chatzar. Since he's sleeping, it's mishemeres the daita, and therefore it would be a good get. Very geshmak sugya. So I met this b'shus Rabbi. We've had this before. She's standing in Rishus Harabim, v'zarku la, and he throws her a get. Karev la, if the get is closer to her, migureshes. Karev la, if the get is closer to him, ain't migureshes. Mechza mechza, migureshes vein migureshes. She would need chalitza if he dies, and she can marry a kohen. V'chein le'inyan kedushin, and so too le'inyan kedushin, right? Meaning, if a man takes kesef kedushin, he says hariyat mekudeshes li with kesef zeh, throws it. If it's closer to him, she's not married. Closer to her, you are married. Okay. V'chein. This is v'chein le'inyan achoiv. What would the case of chayv be? Amaloi l'bal chayvoi. The malva says to the loiva, "Zarek li chayvi, throw me my chayv. I owe you $500. Throw me the $500." She throws him the $500. V'zarku loy karv l'milva l'malva zeicha hamalva karv l'loiva haloiva chayiv. Right? Then if it's carved, the loiva will be chayiv. In other words, the loiva would chayiv to give it again. It's still in his rishus. He's chayiv to pay. Mechza mechza shneim yachloiku. If it's half and half, then what? They would divide it. In other words, again, he have to divide it. You have to pay him up, but he again. Okay, so now,
So do you want to pay him up after if it got destroyed?
yeah, the nafkamina would be if some right. Nafkamina right. It would be if it's destroyed. Now, yeah, that's exactly the case. So I should have zarku loiva avad. It got lost. Right, it got lost. Okay, so it got lost. So since it got lost, now. Heichi dami. Now, guys, what does close to, not close to mean? We're gonna have a few pshatim, okay? Heichi dami karav la, heichi dami karav loy. Amra Rav, arba amish shalah is a karav la, arba amish shalah is a karav loy. So, with her 4 amis is close to her, his 4 amis close to him. Heichi dami. What exactly? Mechal mechza. Then what's the case of mechzal mechza? No, if she has 4 amis, she has 4 amis. You throw it. Okay, so let's okay. I understand that. If it's in her dollar amis, it's hard. His dollar amis him. What's mechzal mechza? Amr Shumar Yitzchak Yigoin. Shayishneim oimdim ba'arba amis. They're both standing in the arba amis. That would be the case of mechzal mechza. They're both standing in the arba amis, right? That would be the case of what of Rashi says. Kigoin shayishneim oimdim b'dalet amis. And the getzu mikan, v'zeh mikan. Shekol again munach b'toich arba amis shaloi, b'toich arba amis shalah. The whole get is between both. In other words, the get is lying between both, which is problematic. Why is it even a shaila? She should not be divorced because you need to say for creases and it's still attached. Okay. Anyway, so that's the havamina 4 amis, and the get is in both of theirs. Let's see who came first. And that would be their dalet amis, whoever came first. They came at the same time. But Yeshua some same. Elam Rav Kahana hacha beches amis with samasaskin. We're speaking about exactly 8 amis. We're speaking about 8 amis. The get yotzemi arba amis shaloi dalet amis shalah. So the guys. So look there. On this side is on the woman. This side is the man. Right. So here's the get. So if it's over here, she's divorced. If it's over here, she's not divorced. If it's over here, we don't know. Now, why we don't know? Unless the whole get is in her rishus, she is still attached to him. This part, she's still attached to him. So of course she's not divorced. Clearly we see that it gets called a sefer krisis. You need a total what? We said the chiddush the other day, that even though she owns the property, since he owns the payris, it's you need a mamish krisis, and you don't have a krisis, right? So that's what we had to figure out a case exactly. It was her property. Either he wrote it over to her when she was in Arusa, or the chiddush of chatzera v'yodei gitei chatzera b'oike echad. But the bottom line is, in this case over here, why is it a shaila mechza al mechza? As long as the whole get is not in her rishus, she's not divorced. That's the question well get So therefore, this teretz is also not going to wash. What exactly is the case of mechza al mechza? So Ella Rabbi Rav Yosef Damit Shavayu Hacha. Guys, we're not speaking about a physical shaila. We're speaking about a halachic shaila. Until now, we're speaking about a physical shaila. 4 amis, 4. Exactly whose amis it is. So he says, no. Here's the story. Keep going. You have you have 2 groups of edim. One says closer to her. One says closer to him. right? So stop. So that's the case of mechza mechza. The case of mechza mechza where you have conflicting edim. In that case, when you have conflicting edim, she's megureshes and megureshes. Meaning, if the husband died, she'd fall to yibum, and if the husband didn't die, then what? The husband didn't die, she could marry a kohen. Megureshes and megureshes. So you need chalitza. That's usually what you need. Chalitza. Now, Rabbi Yochanan says, "Korav law shaninu afilu meya ama." The korav law shaninu afilu meya ama. In other words, it's not a shaila of edim. It's a shaila. It has nothing to do with dal ramis, nothing to do with eid ramis. It has to do with what? With proximity. Hechidami. It has to do with who could watch this better. Who could watch this better? That's the shaila. El hechidami mechza mechza. Some of Shomim Rabba l'didim mefashlim min Rabbi Yochanan. Who yachal l'shaimroi v'hinei yachal l'shaimra zeu karv loy. If he's able to watch it and she can't watch it, even if in proximity it's closer to her. Guys, there's a river. There's a river, and the get is, let's say, is the get is on. He is on this side of the river. The get is on this side of the river, and she's on the other side of the river. She is right on the other side of the river, and if you extend it, her 100 amas would go way beyond, and the get is in her jurisdiction. However, she's not able to watch the get. He who's 100 amas away is able to watch the get. So the criteria for what's karav law, not to do with physical proximity, it has to do with physical ability to watch it, and that's Rabbi Yochanan's chiddush over here. And the Mela, the case of mechza where they both could watch it equally, and that would make a lot of sense. So let's see it inside. So Amar Rav Shomim bar Abba l'didim fashli minei de Rav Yochanan hu yachal l'shaimroi v'hi enu yachal l'shaimroi. He can watch it and she can watch it, even though it's close to the ha. So karav loy. He yachal l'shaimroi v'hu enu yachal l'shaimroi. She's able to watch the get and he's not, even though it's closer to him. So karav law. Shneim yachal l'shaimroi. Shneim ein yachal. If they're both equal in the ability to watch, either to watch or inability to watch, then mechza mechza. So Amar Rabbanan kamed Rav Yochanan mishmei Rav Yonasan. Hachi. The Rabbanan told Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Yonasan the same thing, the same shot. Rabbi Yonasan, it was in bubble at the time, and so he was mechaven to Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan said, Yodin chaverim bavloi lefusha ki taima. The Babylonians, they know to go ahead and explain according to this reasoning. Now, I guess a good kasha, guys. When you have a shiloh of suffix, why do we usually go after? The beginning of the Masechta, right? But no, you go after chazaka, right? Cheska says sisish. You have a chazaka, she's an sisish. So why do you say she's divorced and not divorced? Why don't we go after chazaka? Look at Taisus, guys. The second Taisus down. In the middle of Taisus says Mtvaima. So you told me it's speaking what? Where you have two Adam say that it was carved to him, two Adam say it's carved to her. Mtvaima, the name of Uki Trey Bahade Trey. Uki is a Becheska say sisish. Loitem Megreshes Klau. In other words, why do you say she's divorced and not divorced? Mechza, mechza. What's the case, guys? What's the case of mechza, mechza according to Rabbi Yosef? Two Adam say close to her. Two Adam say close to him. So Uki Sheba, they cancel each other out. And what do we say? Keep on the chazaka. She's an Eish Ish. So say that she's not divorced. It's a Kabbalah Kasha. The Yishlema Kivin the Sveika the Rabbanan he Kidamin and Perak Achen. The Sveik is a suffix the Rabbanan because what two Adam who machish each other, the Rabbanan were machmir. The Rabbanan were machmir. In that case, since it's a chumrah of the Chachamim, nasla dim megareshes and megareshes. Therefore, they were machmir. In other words, to put on the chazaka is a kula. This is a chumrah to go ahead and say she's nishtahi and nishtaher. So since it's the Rabbanan Dikadin, the Rabbanan were machmir over here. The muki trei bahadi trei muki eschas is a din the Rabbanan. So since it was din the Rabbanan in this scenario they were machmir. Since they were machmir, that's why we don't. We say Migaresh in Migaresh does not say she's still married.
You say the same answer that it's true. Even Rabbi Yochanan has the same question. How got it? It's by both of them, so she's not divorced.
Rabbi Yochanan doesn't have the same question. Why? He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to wait. You don't have to weigh them.
I know, but he never left his rishus. So you have the same problem as you had the original answer. Is that they both. No,
but no. Rabbi Yochanan has nothing to do with rishus. Has to do with watching. The first case that physical proximity, if it's in the physical proximity of the guy, he never left. But Rabbi Yochanan, the case of what, when they're both equally to watch it, no, it's zichar suffix, it never left anyone's rishus. Okay, you say uki trei b'hadi trei. Since Rabbi Yochanan is speaking about Edim, there's no sword to say it's a chazaka. The suffix is the suffix brings about for Adam. Over here, the suffix is brought about not by Adam. It's the case. You know, Uki Sheba Hadi Shebu Chas is because of Adam. There's no Adam over here. You're right that it's not proximity because it's not in Rishus, but it doesn't make a difference. The suffix not Machmas Adam. So therefore, there's not a kasha according to Rabbi Yochanan. It says the Gemara Vaita. A bright sets a right to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Eliezer, Kolshu Kar of law, Miloi, anything that's closer to her than him. Ubok Kelev and Nightloy, and a dog comes along and takes it. Ein Mugareshes. Says no, Ein Mugareshes, Ein Mugaresh, Ubok Kelev and Nightloy, Ein Mugareshes. Ein Mugareshes called Hechet, Fred Gemara, Ein Mugareshes called Hechet, Tintre, Vitezel. No, you have to watch it get for all time. In other words, if it's done, it's done. It's Dunsky, right? Right? What's the problem over here? Once it's in her jurisdiction, she should be divorced. Ayakelev took it, it's too late. Elalav hachi kamar. Kol shekarav lo miloi, it's closer than him. However, Viluba Kelev and Nightlight, if the Kelev can come and take it along, it means that it's just, she can't watch it. Who yachal l'shoimroi, v'hi eni yachal l'shoimroi, en megareshes. That's the chiddush, like Rabbi Yochanan, guys. Guys, yeah. Clearly the lashon is, it's closer to her than him, and the Kelev comes along and takes it. Ein megareshes. Why ein megareshes? If it's in her jurisdiction, she should be divorced. You don't have much to get for the rest of your life. Ella, what do you see? That she wasn't divorced. Why wasn't she divorced? Because if a Kelev can come and take it, is a raya that she couldn't watch it. Okay. Amalei Shmuel Rav Yehuda says Rav Shmuel Rav Yehuda. Okay. Shinana. So this is his pshat. Shinana. He called him sharp one. I heard a pshat today that Shitim Gebetzis and Ksubis. I have to look it up. He called him Shinana because he had big teeth from Lashon Shein. Now, why he would call him that, but you should have shot. Your shot one's a little more. This seems to be a little more in the line of being mechanech, Yeah. Shinana kadeshet tesuach v'titlena. Karav law means she can bend in to get it. Karav law means he can bend it, and mechza is they both can bend and get it. In other words, not the alaramis. It has to do bending, right? But don't pass it based upon the ability to bend. It shouldn't be a get till it gets to a hand. It had a place like this where he could bend and we wasn't sure, and therefore what he required chalitza. So you have this kasha of the Gemara karv law. According to Rav, it's speaking with 4 amis. According to another opinion, Rav Kahana, it's speaking of 8 amis. According to Rav Yosef, it's not speaking about amis at all. It's speaking about Edim. According to Rav Yochanan, it's speaking about ability to watch. According to Shmuel, it's speaking about ability to bend and get it. Karv law was a low pasha. Says the Gemara Vaita. We said the same din of karv law that we found by get, who then by kedushin. Right? Amar Avasi, Amar Yochanan, legitin amruv lo davar acher. Says Avasi and Rav Yochanan, this whole chiddush of karv law was by what? By get, but nothing else. Read the Gemara, nothing else. How can you say it's only get? We have a Mefurish Mishnah that the same halacha of karv law would apply to kedushin. In other words, when you said get, you meant kedushin. There's a very famous hekesh. Going in to going out. So just like going out, we have the din of karv law. So who would then Havaya going in? You'd have the din of karv law. So when he meant l'davar acha, I meant except what? Except kedushin. However, if we meduyak, what did the Mishnah say? V'chein l'chayiv. Right? The Mishnah said also about chayiv. Eisvei v'chein l'yinachayiv. Zarek l'chayiv. Throwing my chayiv. V'zarkuloi karv l'milva zacha a milva. Karv l'loive haloive chayiv. Mechza if it gets lost. Mechza shneim yachloiku. He said, don't worry about it, throw my chayiv and you're off the hook. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, that's the chiddush. Throw my chayiv and it had the same Torah as Gitin. Just like Gitin is karv law, but einachinami. So in other words, usually the din doesn't apply, but over here with the Malva saying, give it the same din again. Again, it's like a din of money, and you can do with your money what you want, but in a regular case not. What's the chiddush? I'm joking with you. Throw it over and you're off the hook. So people don't say that. You might think he's joking. That not. Amrav Chisda, get biyada mashticha biyada. He gives her a get, but it gets there's as they say, there's strings attached. I'm not excusing the pun, right? There's, yeah, the strings attached. Im yachal and not guy ulavia. If he's able to pull the get and bring it to himself, at sloy in megareshes, then what? You're not divorced because what? He didn't give it to her. It's not a safer krisus. From lav megareshes. My time of being. What's the reason? It's if you can pull it. Being increases, you need a cut completely veleka. Rav Huda, another case. Her hand is downwards. In other words, the hand is down. Bizarkula, and he throws it to her. Afa pisha get liyada, and it bounces off the hand. Ain't megareshes. In other words, the hand has to be in a position where you can hold it. We saw this halacha in Masechta Shabbos according to the Rambam. It has to be in the hand. In other words, I think the Rambam says you have to be able to hold on to it, literally. Yeah.
So if she caught it like this, it's no good.
What?
So if she caught it like this.
No,
without-
no. If the hand,
without
if
this.
a hand is closed, then it's not katafis. Katafis means it's going in a downward. Katafis is like a waterfall. It's so it's going downwards. According to you, once you catch it, you close your hand. It's not katafis anymore. Hesh.
No, you never used your hand. You use your this. He threw it at you.
It's not worse than it's not worse than chatzah. Then it won't be worse than chatzah, right? Amai hakinafel arba amis di dakinafel. Why do you need it biyad? Even if it falls, it's going to fall down to hadal amis. Says you know, it didn't come to rest, right? It didn't come to rest. Maybe if there was I don't know. It fell down, and it burnt. Rashi says it burnt. Okay, Fitigarish me avira the arba amis. Let it be. In other words, before it burnt, it was in the avir of the arba amis. And tifshit the boy Rebbe Loza arba amis shamu yesh lohem avir elim avir tifshit elim avir. Let's be placed the shaila when she's not divorced. That the ear space, we have to say the ear space is what is not kaina. Of course, if it was, she'd be divorced before it got burnt. So that she's standing by a river. The meikar right? In other words, she's standing by a river. So initially, Ken signed that the Ava of Arba Amis is Arba Amis. But since the Arba over here, the Arba Amis is not gonna come to, it would fall in the river. So it's not an Avi that's subject to what being kaina. Okay. Thank you everyone for listening. Have a good evening.